This is part 3 of the Air and Space Museum. Let's continue with the aircraft of World War II. From here you see the Douglas SBD-3 Dauntless with its rear-firing .30 caliber machine gun. The Dauntless was instrumental in the Battle of Midway, sinking 4 Japanese aircraft carriers. Each wing can mount a 100-pound bomb, and the fuselage can hold a 1,000-pound bomb on a swinging cradle to clear the propeller during dive bombing runs. One of the most recognizable features of the Dauntless are its perforated split flaps and dive brakes. Holes were drilled to alleviate serious tail vibration and buffeting during dives. They broke up the giant airwaves generated by the normal flaps, cutting them into smaller eddies. The Dauntless forever changed in naval warfare by proving the advantage of carriers with air-based attack over battleships with heavy artillery. The Chance Vought F-4U Corsair. It had a couple nicknames. Pilots called it Bent Wing Widowmaker, and enemies hearing its diving shriek called it Whistling Death. The extended bent wings raised the fuselage, accommodating a larger propeller to take advantage of the powerful Pratt & Whitney engine. They were created for carrier decks, and the foldable wing design helped with storage. The Corsair's cockpit was set quite a bit back from the nose, causing some minor line-of-sight issues. This technician may know this Corsair is painted in honor of Jerry Coleman, the longtime radio announcer for the San Diego Padres. Coleman served in World War II and the Korean War. The Death Rattlers VMA 323 was one of his squadrons. Here's a nose and cockpit section of the Douglas C-47 Skytrain, a military transport. It was used by all branches of the U.S. military and all major Allied powers. There is an electrical panel on top for switching on lights, ignition, and load indicators for the engines. The front has flight controls and indicators like airspeed, altimeter, clock, and the flight yokes. The center console has levers for the throttle and mixture controls. The Grumman F-4F Wildcat served as one of the main U.S. fighters for the Pacific Theater. It had to rely on flying tactics such as the thatch weave to bait pursuers into another wingman's crossfire. You see the stow wing folded wings, first introduced on the Wildcat and patented by Grumman. It allowed aircraft carriers to more than double their fighter capacity. The Grumman F-6F Hellcat succeeded and exceeded the Wildcat. It had the speed, firepower, pilot visibility, and armor plating to fight in the Pacific Theater. Many of the pilots called it the aluminum tank because it could sustain so much damage and still be able to fly. The Hellcat was definitely designed to take a beating. It had 212 pounds of armor around the cockpit, a bulletproof windshield, and a self-sealing fuel tank. The wings had the option of carrying single bomb racks under each wing or 6 5-inch high-velocity aircraft rockets. On the undercarriage, it could carry drop tanks with fuel to extend its range, or bombs to increase its armament. As Allied troops landed ashore, the Hellcat would provide cover, sweeping over enemy airfields and destroying planes that could attack personnel transports or landing craft. The B-24 Liberator heavy bomber was put into service in 1941. It was designed by Consolidated Aircraft here in San Diego. Compared to the B-17, the B-24 had smaller wings but higher speed. Neither bomber had a pressurized cabin, so oxygen was required. Notice the bottom showing the bomb bay doors and the belly section where an optional turret could be installed. The retractable ball turret could be raised or lowered from the belly as needed. Note how the gunner had to curl up inside the ball with his head at the gun sight and his feet at the gun barrels. Let's have a look inside the ball turret. The hatch is normally rotated up when entering from the aircraft. The circular window is where the gunner spots his target. On the right, oxygen and its flow indicator. Two handles next to the leather seat can be pulled to charge the machine gun magazines. It's dark, but the black metal on the left is one of the 50 caliber machine guns facing the direction of the circular window. The other is on the right. In the center is the gun sight, and above that the turret control sticks with triggers on the thumbs. The Royal Air Force Station at Biggin Hill was a main base for the British Allies. The Supermarine Spitfire was possibly the best known aircraft at the time. The Spitfire was the only British aircraft produced continuously throughout the war and had an abundance of revisions. This one is an Mk or Mark 16. It has a distinctive elliptical wing which was designed to have the thinnest cross-section to reduce drag and increase top speed. Over 22,000 Spitfires were constructed during the war. The flight gear was combined with an oxygen mask to allow the pilots to survive at the 43,000-foot service ceiling. The cockpit was isolating, but through radio communication, the pilot kept his focus on the mission at hand. For Allied pilots in the Pacific Theater, they may glance up and see this plane, the Mitsubishi A6M-0. The Zero was not extremely fast, but it could easily outturn a British Spitfire, maintain a very steep climb, and remain in battle for 3 times as long. With less armor and a focus on maneuverability, the Zero became susceptible to well-armed Allied planes foregoing a dogfight in favor of repeated diving attacks. Many of Japan's best pilots were defeated, and the Zeros were becoming increasingly outdated. Japan's perseverance and cultural influence of death rather than defeat led to one of the most terrifying attacks of the war, the kamikaze. The kamikaze, or Divine Wind pilots, flew special attack planes outfitted with bombs or explosives. The pilots were mainly trained to take off and fly. It was a one-way ticket to crash their planes into Allied warships, causing severe damage. They sank more than 300 US ships, but with a grim price tag of 3,800 kamikaze pilots. This Messerschmitt Bf-109G is representative of the design for Erich Hartmann, the Luftwaffe fighter ace with the world's most aerial victories at 352. It's a certainty his record will never be broken due to advancements since World War II. Rather than leading his targets at a great distance, Hartmann would close the gap to 70 feet or less before firing. His enemies had no time to evade, and he conserved his ammo. He actually had to crash land 16 times due to mechanical failure or debris from planes he shot down. Of his over 1,400 combat missions, he was never shot down and only lost one wingman, who also survived. Far ahead of its time, a top-secret all-wing jet-propelled aircraft was being developed in Germany, the Horten 229. Jet aircraft were unheard of in the Second World War, and this one was designed to be a light bomber with a 620 mile/hour top speed and a 49,000-foot operational ceiling. Development of the Horten happened late in the war, and it was never used in real combat. It had 3 test flights, and the last one resulted in a crash, throwing the test pilot from the aircraft upon impact. This full-size model was built in conjunction with National Geographic for a documentary about the Horten 229 V3. By the way, the building housing the Air and Space Museum was originally the Ford building, as these plaques describe. Another hint. These fountains in the center outline a V and an 8, a popular engine size for Ford motor cars. Be sure to watch the next part in this series. Thanks for watching San Diego Review.